All right, back here, third and final hour. It is the 3-hour tour of the Bernie and Sid Show. Curtis and Ebony come your way at noon. We've got the lights on right behind us. The Yes Network, the home of the Yankees and Brooklyn Nets and a bunch of teams here in New York, about to film a television commercial with me and Bernard coming up at noon after our show. They're going to run it on TV during Yankee games in August and September on the Yes Network. So we're going to get a lot of TV time.
Will you still remember me when you're famous?
Yes. In fact, I'm going to take you with me. and by the way, I will never be nearly as famous as you, because while it's impressive we've got a TV commercial, your book, Milo, is number one.
I mean, I hate to say I told you so, but I did tell you it was going to do really, really well.
Yes, you did. But was there ever a time?
Yes.
And I know you can be humble.
Yes.
Was there ever a time where you thought maybe be number two?
No.
He is too much. The great Milo Yiannopoulos.
There are lots of positions on the chart that aren't number one, but I don't know any of them. I don't know what any of them are.
I walked into this party late. We're talking about positions?
It was about to become the Milo and Sid show.
Right.
We don't need you now. Where were you?
Who is this Brit?
Taking a slash, as they say in England.
We were talking about how impressive it is that his book, in fact, is number one.
How would we characterize Milo Yiannopoulos? Are you
wonderful?
Besides fabulous and wonderful.
Love that.
Would it be?
I think you'd say I was a delight.
Well, all those things are true. However, just in free speech warrior, advocate, activist.
I don't know. Other people are paid to describe me. I just do my thing.
You just do your thing.
Yeah. No. I don't know.
Okay.
I think I used to be a journalist.
Fair enough.
Journalist?
Well, at one point, I'm sure I was.
Yeah,
apparently.
I will say this.
I think free speech fundamentalist is what we use.
You've got a ton of, and Bernard has these too, stalkers. Like people. I got to tell you,
I love
my Instagram. There's some lady on Instagram and somebody on Facebook. When they find out that Milo was coming in, they start to pepper me with.
Oh yeah, he's a rock star.
It's
Are you kidding me?
unbelievable. This one lady.
Well, I mean, try being me.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I love them.
So I mean,
people are very kind.
The New York Times bestseller list. It's got to be killing them that you are number one.
Agonizing. I wanted to wander into the office and offer them, therapy sessions.
Yes.
And Xanax. Is it okay? It must be awful for you.
It was Bill O'Reilly for a long time, and now it's Milo Yiannopoulos.
Well, I mean, they're trying to get sort of petty revenge. For instance, chapter 2 of my book is called Why the Alt-Right Hates Me.
Yeah.
But the New York Times insists in its summary on its own bestseller list of describing me as an alt-right provocateur.
Right.
But proving that nobody in the building has opened the cover of one of their own bestsellers, their own list.
Oh,
no one's even seen a copy of it.
They're not going to review your book.
No, of course not.
No way.
But who cares? Don't need them. And they try to get their revenge. Like last week, I think I was because you jostle
go up and down.
You jostle around in the list. Right. And last week I was number 5, despite selling the most copies in the country. So I had sold 5,000 more copies than any other hardcover in the country. But they wouldn't give me number 1. And not only did they not give me number 1, they gave me number 5 behind a book that I'd outsold 2-1.
That's funny.
The first week that book about Bannon and Trump debuted, I sold 5,000 more copies than that book in its debut.
That's
week.
all that matters.
And they still wouldn't give me. Well, of course. All that matters. I made 1.2 million in the first month. I'm doing fine.
What
New York Times can hang.
What is the book is great. We were just talking about it all the time.
Oh, you've read it now, have you?
Of course.
Well, I'm just asking because the last time I came in here to be interviewed about it, only one of you had read it.
But he's an avid reader. He's much better than me. I admit that. But I did read it, and it was marvelous.
I'm just kidding.
And I love the fact that every chapter somebody hates you. I know you're kidding me. But when you look at your own piece of work.
Finally, you've had someone read it.
Yes. Oh, of course I did. Come on.
I was going to
my daughter.
I was going to rush you. The Audible's not out yet. No,
let me get
the audio book. Well, no, I was going to say I was going to send you the files.
No, my 13-year-old daughter Ava loves you, and she read the book to me. But what about the book are you most proud about? The message you were trying to deliver. When you look back at your own book, what are you most proud of?
The cover.
That is a great cover.
I look
It's a
really
great picture.
hot.
Yeah.
I look great.
Yeah.
I look so good.
You look angelic almost.
I do, but
look
with
sweet
a
and
little
nice.
dash of mischief.
Right.
It's like there's something a little Luciferian about it, you know, just a little, there's a little hint of mischief and lots of you know, I look like an ingenue.
A lascivious cherub.
Yeah, very good.
Perhaps. I don't know.
Very good.
How about that? Listen, the book is dangerous, by the way, in case we didn't mention that. Now, let's get to the issue of the day, Milo Yiannopoulos, the Charlottesville, Virginia. Trump comes out on Saturday. It's a rally. They're having these neo-Nazis, these white supremacists, constitutionally protected. A bunch of people show up. They clash.
Yeah.
It gets ugly. Trump makes a statement, and he gets killed for his statement. And 2 days later, he comes out and he makes another statement. Anyway, your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, everyone is responsible for their own actions, and the actions of some of the people there were awful on both sides. I don't like the far left or the far right, and the far left and the far right both hate me. And I don't have a problem with what Trump said. I mean, it took Obama 5 days to say anything about Ferguson because he was on vacation. And when he did, it was very lukewarm. He blamed the police officers that got murdered.
He got it wrong.
Well, he blamed the police officers who got murdered by Black Lives Matter last year for their own deaths, saying that it was, structural racism and the police was partly to blame for Black Lives Matter executing 5 police officers in Dallas. I think this is just a simple case of whoever you hate, whatever they say about anything controversial is never good enough. Trump is never going. Whatever Trump says about racism or white supremacy or whatever is never going to be good enough, even for some Republicans, because they've identified it as a subject in which they think they can bash him endlessly, and whatever he says is not going to be good enough. For me, it was perfectly good enough. He decried violence on all sides.
Hatred and bigotry,
exactly. And then later on, explicitly named the KKK neo-Nazis and white supremacists. I don't know what more he could reasonably be expected to do.
Well, let me give you more expectations, and don't get mad at me because we all three love each other. I thought it was a miserable failure on Saturday. I don't hate Trump. I don't think Trump is a racist at all. Yep. I think what he suffers from is, if you like me, if you voted for me, if you're going to support me, I'm going to have a very difficult time calling you out, even if you are a dirty, disgusting neo-Nazi. And I think that's why he didn't do it initially.
But
and it's just equally as gross.
There's 4,000 of them.
Doesn't matter
There's
how many
4,000 of them. I mean, these people are an irrelevance. I will start worrying about right-wing politicians calling out irrelevant loons on their side when a single Democrat low-level operative, never mind anybody that runs the party or is running for president, condemns the violence of Antifa or, black bloc tactics, Black Lives Matter, any of these organizations which resort to violence first and talking later. When a single Democrat, a single celebrity, a single anything, anyone, anywhere, anybody, anytime, anyhow, has the remotest bad thing to say about Antifa, then I'll start worrying about Donald Trump not prostrating himself on the altar of social justice, begging for no, please, nobody think I'm a racist. Everyone knows he's not a racist. People say he's a racist for political advantage. They say it to damage him in the eyes of the voters, and they say it knowing it's not true. I don't care. I don't care.
It was Russia, now it's racism. Russia thing died.
Of course,
now it's
nobody believes any of the stuff they say about him, and I don't care what they say, and he shouldn't either. And I'm quite happy that he sort of toys with them a little bit.
That's what infuriated them, is that he said hatred and bigotry on both sides.
Yeah,
and he was talking about the Antifa people.
Which is true. They started this.
Sure.
They started this. By the way, they started the violence at Charlottesville. Not that I hate neo-Nazis. I hate anti-Semites. I hate blah, 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 blah,
You're
blah.
Jewish, for God's sake.
No.
Sorry,
right, but let's skip over the virtue signaling and get to the real issue.
Virtue signaling.
Skip over the I'm a good person, I promise. Yeah, we get it. Rape is bad and you hate racists. Fine. Everybody can agree on these fundamental. Everybody can agree on these fundamental things. Let's actually talk about something. And let's talk about they started it. The left started it at Charlottesville. They're the ones who started being violent. The police are complicit in not policing properly, just as they were at UC Berkeley when they allowed the Antifa, the Black Bloc, to smash down the town at my talk. And the left created this environment. Now, I think it's okay to say, at the same time as everyone's responsible for their own actions, and whoever drove that car into those people needs to be locked away for life.
Right.
But the left created this weird environment where everybody is expected to think of themselves in terms of tribes. Are you a black woman? Are you a Muslim, lesbian, disabled, polyamorous, whatever? But more simply than that, they've for 30 years or more, they've been pitting groups against each other, whether it's feminism pitting women against men, Black Lives Matter pitting the races against one another, whatever it is, people have been encouraged to think of themselves as folks or tribes. Well, when you do that to young, impressionable, anxious people who have been the victims of 20 years of stagnating living conditions, no real terms wage increases, all of the economic pressures on the white working classes in this country, when you tell them, well, this thing is for blacks, and this thing is for women, and this thing is for the gays, and there's like a 20-year-old, and they're like, well, where's my thing? Because I grew up in a trailer, I don't have white privilege. What the hell are you talking about? Right. It is inevitable that some of those people, wrong-headedly, admittedly, are going to show up for their own tribe, because you have taught them that that's how the world functions, because you have taught them that identity politics, rather than reason, logic, education, aspiration, and having a good moral compass, you've taught them that the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, and your gender are the most important things about you. If you tell people that, some of them are going to believe you.
100%. Now, where I disagree with both of you guys is the left does believe he's a racist. You're wrong. Now, maybe it took some time for them to convince themselves of that.
I don't think maybe it took some time. They really do.
I think they really do. And maybe it took some time to convince themselves of that, but I think they really do think he's a racist. I really believe that. And secondly, I don't even think they knew, and this is their fault, about the Antifa. If you watch
because the media doesn't report on
correct. If you watch the early coverage on Saturday and Sunday, Milo, all you heard was a bunch of neo-Nazis were marching, and they killed some young girl. There was no real talk about the Antifa.
And there's these pictures of, you'll see the pictures of I made this joke on Facebook. I was like, make Nazis hot again. Because they were like, the one thing the National Socialists did have was those nice Hugo Boss uniforms. These guys are like chubby, round, pink, balls of blubber, like wandering around with tucked in polo shirts. I mean, fascism has never been so unattractive. but they've got all of
That's the biggest problem with fascism.
Nothing worse than
look, I do nothing worse than a fat Nazi. There's this theory called the pink swastika, which said that prior to the night of the long knives, that so many of the Nazi top brass were gay, including, of course, Ernst Röhm, who was found in bed with his driver. Well, at least so the story goes. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons they all look so fabulous. But anyway, so it's a very good book. It's called The Pink Swastika.
A lot of leather.
But seriously, the Gestapo were no, actually, let's not go there. The key thing about this is the media coverage, as you correctly suggest, because you heard white nationalists, white supremacists, neo-Nazis plus violence, and you were led to believe a certain thing,
and a dead girl,
of course. I mean, horrible, and it's still horrible. But it's like sometimes you see the picture the media uses and then the uncropped version. And I saw in a story that there was this picture of this like topless fat guy in a red hat, like baring his teeth. I'm sorry.
Bleep it out.
Excuse me.
Take two. Let's reset.
There was effing. That's what I said the first time. I must have had an accident. Something went wrong in the control room. With a flamethrower, with like a can of aerosol that he'd lit.
Yeah.
Astonishing. And there's all kinds of things like that. And the media's responsible. Look, if you tell everyone it's okay to punch a Nazi, and then you describe all of your ideological opponents as Nazis, you're going similarly to with the white or supremacist white nationalist thing, where you tell everybody to show up to support their tribe, and some poor deluded souls are going to do exactly that.
Right.
If you tell people that. Similarly, if you tell impressionable people that these people are all evil, racist Nazis and it's okay to hit them, things are going to happen like shootings at, with Scalise, and shootings and guys showing up, ready for war. And there's no all the indications actually are that these white supremacists are actually kind of sad. I mean, they're sort of fairly tragic reject types, who show up with citronella tiki candles from, from Target, and all they really want
complete losers.
Yeah, no, the smell of fascism is citronella. At least they won't get any mosquito bites.
They had 200 to 300 people there for an event
they're all showing up and just sort of like slouching around a statue, looking pathetic. And the media covers this like it's the rise of Hitler or something. In 1932, 1933 Germany. And I'm sorry, it just isn't. And you have to ask, why the media is relentlessly exaggerating the scale and danger and scope and presence of neo-Nazis and white supremacists and refusing to cover respectable, reasonable conservatives like me.
Well,
they won't cover the book. I've had no mainstream media interviews, no mainstream media reviews of the book, despite the fact that it's this amazing phoenix-like return from the Simon & Schuster cancellation. It's been on the New York Times bestseller list for 4 or 5 weeks, and no one will cover it because they don't want to show their political opponents as being reasonable or,
exactly
heaven forfend, persuasive and attractive. What they want to do instead is suggest that everyone on the right is a Nazi, and if you support Trump, you must be a Nazi too, and Trump is tainted by his association with a couple of hundred weirdos who happen to have voted for him. I don't care about this sort of stuff, and I think the public sees through it too.
That's exactly what they do, and why they highlight and spotlight a guy like an irrelevant, anachronistic type like David Duke, for example. These guys from the leftovers from the 20th century.
Who are
this is
these
Trump's
people?
America. This is what they're trying to say.
Them?
Right. Who are they? They're nobodies. You're right about that. But let me ask you about this white nationalism and Trump's form of nationalism, which has been described as a melting pot nationalism. There's nothing wrong with nationalism. White supremacy, white nationalism, yes. Not the nationalism that Trump espouses, America first. That's a good thing. We like that. It's brown people, black people.
It's very straightforward. I mean, it's very straightforward.
Exactly.
There's a difference between white supremacy and Western supremacy. It's skin color versus ideas. If you believe in all the things that make this country wonderful, freedom of speech, property rights, capitalism, democracy, all the things that made America the best country in the history of human civilization.
Porn.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah.
Pornography is also
America's
excellent.
Throw that in there.
I don't watch it anymore because I have love in my life, but I'm glad that you're happy.
Even better.
I'm glad you have something to do.
You add it. That's the appetizer before your great entree.
Is this what married life is like? Because if so, I'm going to cancel my wedding.
No, it's fantastic.
You watch porn with your wife?
Every now and then.
Really? That's so weird.
It's gay porn, too.
That doesn't surprise me.
That's very
Of course not. Of course
That
not.
satisfies both of you, huh?
Of course not. It's funny, though.
So Milo was just thrown off.
No. Excuse me. This is much more interesting.
But you were actually including all the things that make us great.
Yes.
The nationalism part of Trump's nationalism versus white nationalism.
Unashamed Western supremacist.
Yes.
I think the West is the best. I think Western civilization is fantastic. I think this is the best. If you didn't know where you were going to be born and you had no idea where you were going to show up, it's called the Rawlsian veil of ignorance to philosophers. Where would you want to be? You'd want to be in America,
of course,
or maybe the UK, like 20 years ago. Possibly not the new, not the new Sharia compliant UK,
exactly. Muslim,
but
right.
Maybe Canada if you're an idiot. But these are the countries you'd want. Australia if you're a criminal.
Right.
That is these are the Western supremacy.
If you have no aspirations to go to college, perhaps Australia. If you didn't know where you were going to be born, and you didn't know your economic circumstances, and you didn't know what skin color or gender or sexuality you were going to get given, where would you want to be? It's not Raqqa, is it?
No.
It's not. It's nowhere in the Muslim world. It's not Africa.
It used to be Europe. It's not even there anymore.
Japan. It's
Paris,
not China.
no.
It's not Russia. It's not even Europe maybe anymore.
No.
It's the good old US of A.
That's right.
And there's a reason for that. And when these awful left-wing celebrities who constantly pander to and mollycoddle Islam, like Ariana Grande, have something awful happen at their concerts, where do they rush home to be safe? It's America.
That's no doubt.
And this country is wonderful, and I'm so tired of people putting it down and pretending that the side of the political development. There are plenty of problems with Republicans. I don't particularly like establishment Republicans, and many of them absolutely hate me. They haven't been nice to women. They haven't been nice to blacks. They haven't been nice to gays. I don't like them. But the libertarian conservative side of American politics is currently, at the present moment, clearly the side defending the most important right of all, which is the First Amendment and free speech and free expression. That's what I care about.
Milo Yiannopoulos on the Bernie and Sid Show. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. I want to ask you.
The foul-mouthed Milo Yiannopoulos. I'm so sorry. You're never going to have me back. I'm so sorry.
I want to ask you about Confederate statues, Stephen Miller. You getting called out in the National Review.
Just don't ask me about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, or you'll get another F-bomb.
Okay. As we come back on the Bernie and Sid Show with Milo, whose book is called Dangerous, by the way, on the bestseller list. Check it out, folks. Amazon. Milo Yiannopoulos, Dangerous, on the Bernie and Sid Show.
Need a specialized skill? They have a certificate for that. In fact, more than 40 certificates in various fields. Check out Adelphi University certificates in bilingual education, bilingual social work, nursing administration, healthcare informatics, and more. Adelphi.edu.
Bernie and Sid, two brains, one show.
Guaranteed to be enormously successful.
77 WABC.
When you say that you, as president, would be willing to launch a preemptive strike against North Korea's nuclear capability?
First, I'd negotiate. I would negotiate like crazy, and I'd make sure that we tried to get the best deal possible. Now, if that negotiation doesn't work, you better solve the problem now than solve it later, Tim. And you know it, and every politician knows it, and nobody wants to talk about it. I'm saying that we have to do something to stop. You want to do it in 5 years when they have warheads all over the place, every one of them pointing to New York City, to Washington, and every one of our... Is that when you want to do it, or do you want to do something now?
18 years ago, the president with Tim Russert, Meet the Press. That was great.
A year later,
That was great.
he, in no uncertain terms, condemned David Duke.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
But,
That was 17 years ago. He needed to do that on Saturday.
We forget it. He did.
We didn't forget it. Don't worry about it. Listen, before we get to the serious stuff with Milo, like Steve Miller, Bernard, and all the things you laid out, which is all great stuff.
All good
so
stuff.
I asked Milo at the break, right? I go, listen, are you going to be upset with me? For some reason, I don't want him upset with me because I love him. So will you be upset with me if I readily admit to you that I don't break down in tears every time I see a picture of Princess Diana?
That wasn't how you put it.
Well, how did I say
Now you've amped up the way you phrased the question to make my response seem more unreasonable and more ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe true. so then how did it go exactly? How did it go
you
exactly?
said something, will you hate me for being the only person who didn't cry at the death of Princess Diana? And I said, oh, come on. Because you
didn't say anything. You walked away, you put your
I
hair
said,
your
oh,
head
for
in your hands.
goodness sake. No, because, you were attempting to say, I think the underlying message of your question was that you find this sort of maudlin, self-indulgent, theatrical outburst of feelings about people that you've never met to be ridiculous, and you're surprised that Americans buy it, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I think anyone who wasn't sad at the death of Princess Diana is a heartless monster with no soul.
Yes. I was
with
sad.
no soul. You see, our producer agrees with me. Jill agrees with me.
I was sad when she died, but 20 years later, I still got to cry over Princess Diana because William and Harry were kids.
No, you don't have to cry now.
She was a deplorable harlot. But she was her marriage. If you really want to know, her whole marriage was overshadowed by the fact that her husband was in love with somebody else, and he was in love with somebody else on the day they got married. She had to look at Camilla, in the wedding party, knowing that her husband was in love with her. And
she knew that.
How is that possible, by the way?
Yeah.
I mean, what does Camilla Parker Bowles have that anybody could possibly find attractive?
You don't choose who you fall in love with. Sometimes we fall in love with ludicrous people. I love him.
You must have some insight in it, because it makes no sense to us.
No, but sometimes it doesn't make any sense to the outside world.
Right.
Why two people are fond of each other, but Sid and I, it's just like we're the perfect example.
No, there is.
We shouldn't make sense, but we do.
There's an energy that's not always explainable. He's right.
That's right.
No,
He's
there's
right.
This little sort of frisson in the air.
Yes.
There's a little electricity every time we hug.
There is.
You can't deny it. You can't deny it.
So you say there's some American royalty today that's analogous to Princess
This
Di.
is the best part of the whole conversation.
Absolutely. I said, well, look, imagine what would happen if Kim Kardashian died. Now, let's stop it.
No.
Now, listen. Look, your royalty are celebrities, and she might not be the queen. Maybe the queen is Taylor Swift or somebody like that, but she's probably the Princess Di. And I ask you, who's more famous, non-partisan, and has as many rabid fans, is renowned as both a beauty and somebody and a troubled woman, somebody whose interior emotional dialogue the nation believes that they have some sort of access to, a woman whose inner workings have been laid bare to us.
He's right about all this. He's right about it.
You said
she's got 1 billion followers on Twitter.
People think they know her, and that's what matters. And British people thought they knew Diana, because Diana was before Kate Middleton, Diana was the one who wasn't as posh as the rest of the family.
Right.
Diana was the one of us, like Kate Middleton is now. She was the original insurgent.
I like the girl Pippa better.
Because of the ass.
Yes, of course.
I think so, yeah. Oh, so predictable.
Listen, Kim Kardashian is...
And I will stab you in the throat.
I just
I will strangle you in your sleep. That man is perfect.
I just saw Ray J. You know, I saw Ray J a couple of days ago. We'll get to the serious stuff. There's a show that I actually enjoy. I don't love hip-hop music. I don't. But for some reason, there's a show on VH1 called Hip Hop Squares. And it's a Hollywood, it's a modern day Hollywood Squares, but it's all hip hop guys.
Yes.
Ice Cube and Ray J was on last week.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
He looked great.
He does look great. He looked great in the video.
Nothing against him.
He looks great.
She's not.
He looks great
treasure.
in the Kim Kardashian tape in particular, better than she did.
I see where we're going.
Anyway, so you speak no evil of
no. Look, he got what he got, but she is just
Margaret Thatcher and Ray J.
Fat ass. A lazy, nasty fat ass.
Excuse this lazy. You would probably say the same about Paris Hilton, who, although she was born. I love her. Oh, okay. So why? Because she's skinny or something? I don't know. Because there's something about her you like and something about Kim you don't.
That's right.
They are basically indistinguishable, and what they both have in common, and I love both of them. What they both have in common is that they're almost the perfect expression of the American dream. They are people who, yes, had some advantages early on in life, but their circumstance now versus what they were born into. They could have become lazy and useless and just been kind of layabout socialites.
Like the Trump kids.
Yeah, they also did well after having a good thing upbringing and had money.
Let's talk about the Kardashians. I don't have any problem with nepotism or dynastic politics, to be perfectly honest with you. Some of the to be honest, I don't. The Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton both.
Are you friends with them?
Willed them. So I don't talk about who I'm friends with because their careers will be destroyed.
Gotcha.
They through sheer force of will and hard work, aspiration, all the rest. I mean, Paris Hilton now has 18 product lines.
Yeah, she does.
She has dozens of perfumes.
She's the DJ.
She's the highest paid female DJ in the world. She is one of the most successful American entrepreneurs of all time by any standards.
Not as much as the two twins that were on Full House.
The Olsen twins.
Yes, I believe they still have they make the most money from their clothing line to this day.
Have you seen them?
They look terrible.
Paris is still hot, so I'm going with Paris.
That's right.
No, but look, Kim Kardashian is a successful businesswoman. She's a hardworking, successful businesswoman who's been an inspiration to millions of American women. And millions of American women believe that they know her and that they have some access to her, some purchase on her inner emotional life. That's exactly the relationship that British people had with Diana. So I think it's a perfect analogy.
Can I ask you, is this this gentleman with you, is this your boyfriend here?
No.
The guy that was here? No? Okay.
No,
all right.
I don't bring.
Just curious.
Anytime he walks in with a guy's got to be banging him. What is
Why
that?
Not? Well,
that's some kind of homophobia, isn't it? You know, it's like bums against the wall, lads.
Plus, it was his type. I'm just asking.
That is my new. Actually, no. Never
No,
mind.
that's
Never
fine.
mind. You don't need to know.
It's nobody's business. Right. Nobody's damn business.
I like to bring in sort of like a mystery companion every time I do this show,
Indeed.
just so that you've got something to talk about.
Right. And but we're both thinking the same thing. Me, but like, is he with this guy? Is this guy? Yeah. What's going to happen at 3 o'clock today with this guy?
This the lucky guy?
3 a.m. No. When I see you in Boca, that's it. Then we will.
We'll talk.
You'll meet my fella.
Oh.
All right. Let's
go to the Hard Rock together.
Perfect.
Let us go back to politics for a minute. Okay, look, let me ask you about this guy.
So much more interesting on other
subjects. This guy, Stephen Miller. This guy, is he, he's been accused, he's an alt-right guy, he's a nasty Nazi. Meanwhile, he's a Jewish guy. He works for Trump. He's brilliant. He had that fight with Acosta.
Yeah.
What does Milo Yiannopoulos say about a Stephen Miller?
I think he's great. I think it's important that there's someone else apart from Steve Bannon in there, showing that Bannon's not the only one who is in touch with the populist nationalist wing of Trump's base. You know, the people who actually propelled him into power. He's phenomenally smart. He's obviously brilliant. The speeches that I've heard that he had a hand in are Trump's best. I think he's wonderful. I think he's absolutely great. I'm a firm supporter of the anti-political correctness, anti-illegal immigration, populist nationalist, joyful, mischievous uprising and rebellion, which I guess I had some part in giving a kick to prior to the last election, and it is still alive and well, and it has nothing to do with racism, nothing to do with sexism, nothing to do with white supremacy or white nationalism. It's just for the first time perhaps in decades a strain of conservatism that isn't sorry for itself.
Right.
And I think that's wonderful.
That'll fight back.
Exactly. It's a form of conservatism that
Yeah.
will bite back. It's a form of conservatism that is not just going to take it anymore, like the National Review and AEI types who waste billions of dollars of rich old conservative men's money achieving nothing. What do you mean we're losing? But we published a policy paper about it. How can this be the case?
It's funny you mentioned National Review. We just had Rich Lowry on this show, Bernie and I, last hour.
Oh my goodness!
I know. I don't think Rich Lowry hates you.
Bearable.
Yeah, no, they trash.
I know the paper does.
No, they talk every day about me. They're obsessed with me. I mean, I take it. The problem. I'm fine with that. The only thing that I don't like is they have no readers, so nobody can read the awful things they say about me. The only people who read them are journalists who hate them. Go find an American, a normal American, 30 years old, and ask them what National Review is. They have no idea. They've never heard of it. I only wish more people were reading the terrible things they said about me. But as it happens, National Review. Oh, what is it? Michael Malice on Fox, I think, calls it something like Architectural Monthly Archaeological Monthly or something.
What did they say? What was the lesson they said about him? What was
they were just trying to connect Milo to the alt-right, which of course he's not.
Well, they're trying to insinuate that they say that college Republicans have enabled this horrible movement that spiraled out into a violent neo-Nazi uprising in the country, and it's all my fault because I tell fat jokes.
Yeah, essentially. Some guy named Elliot Kaufman.
No, and it was like, Yiannopoulos was a journalist once, albeit a failed tech blogger. How does one become a failed tech blogger? I don't know, because at the last I checked, I was technology editor of Breitbart, and then a massive media star with the New York Times best-selling book. Is that a failed tech blogger, please? This sort of like desperate lashing out. I love it. I love it. Oh my God, no, I'm getting. Never mind.
Get that guy in here.
Stop it. I've had one bleep already today, so I won't finish that sentence. But no, I mean, every time National Review comes for me, I want to touch myself.
Milo Yiannopoulos in the studio with Bernie and said, listen, Milo, of course, the deep thinker that you are, the latest is they're taking down all these Confederate statues and the flag and all. What about taking down these statues all around the South and, from the front of City Hall and this particular incident down in Charlottesville?
Yeah, it's a terrible mistake. And in North Carolina, where they've pulled down a Confederate statue.
That was last week.
They did that last night, I think.
Last night,
right.
This is a mistake for two reasons. One, that if we do not take note of our history, we're doomed to repeat it. And if you don't have these things around to remind us of how not to behave, there's no reason to suppose that another group won't use the same tactics, the same terrible behavior to justify another horrible ideology. If you take down, symbols of injustice and all the rest of it.
But it would be like putting up, say the Confederate flag from the State House in South Carolina.
Yes.
It would be like a swastika in Hamburg, Germany, for example, to some people. Yes. Well, I think it is. I mean, look, if you
I don't
were
have
black,
any particular love for the Confederate flag. It's not a fight I'm on either side of.
Okay, so you have
it's just freedom of speech.
Stonewall Jackson.
Doesn't matter. Freedom of speech.
I don't have a particular dog in the fight, and I don't care too much about whether people fly the Confederate flag or not. I like how much it triggers liberals. One thing that where the flag is flown merely as provocation or to be unpleasant, then obviously I'm all for it. If it has any more sinister meaning than that, then that's unfortunate. But this is a country defined by free expression.
Not in the public square.
The problem in this country is not white racism. The problem in this country is the assault on free speech from the media, from Hollywood, from politicians, and from the academia. The great threat to this country, safety and security, the threat to people's liberty, the real problem in this country is a vast, multi-pronged assault on the free expression of libertarians and conservatives and anyone who steps outside the social justice consensus. The problem is not white racism.
Well, can't you maintain that and at the same time, Milo, still be somewhat sensitive? In other words, take down the statue, put it in a museum. We're not saying erase the history, but
it does erase the history because it makes it less visible. If it's in a museum, no one will see it.
Okay.
If it's in a museum, no one will see it. And it's important that we confront ourselves with the past. Now, you both would presumably be against trigger warnings and safe spaces culture in universities, the idea that we should avoid anything that makes us uncomfortable. I think we should be surrounded by things that make us uncomfortable, things that force us to challenge ourselves, that remind us of our history, and that remind us to be better and to behave better in the future. What about a statue of
Goebbels in Berlin somewhere? I mean, that reminds you of your history, but it's
I'd be all for it because it doesn't glorify him. It reminds people.
You're trying to be consistent, but you can't win on this.
No, I don't know, actually. I mean, actually, no, I would be all for it. I don't think, I don't want swastikas on public buildings in Germany, but I do think that, for instance, denying the Holocaust and swastikas being outlawed is stupid, because two things happen. One,
wait, not denying the Holocaust. That's not what I'm advocating.
No, but I'm talking about erasing history.
Yeah.
By not allowing people to talk about these things, you don't allow the arguments for denying the Holocaust to be debunked in public.
But to have a statue of pays tribute.
Yeah, sure. You don't want to glorify these people, take it all down. But people have been arrested in Germany for owning copies of Mein Kampf prior to it being made legal again, right, for drawing swastikas on things. I think that's wrong. I think these things should be out there in public, discussed, because when everybody has an opportunity to comment on these things, people tend to reach the right conclusions that they're disgusting and awful. Two things happen when you cover up the past. Two things happen when you hide history. One is that you're doomed to repeat it, and two, you make it attractive. There's, when you ban things, you make it alluring. You give it a luster and a glamour.
Is there anywhere where you would draw the line? Is there anything you would find offensive? Any statue, any that you would really find offensive?
I don't find things offensive. Very honestly, sincerely, I just don't have that bit of my brain. Okay. I understand that other people do, and I understand there's a line to be drawn, and I'm sure that there's a nice, sensible consensus to be reached. But merely, the key thing here is that changing history or obscuring history to conform to the current prejudices and fashions and fads of the social, or fears, or sensitivities, unjustified or otherwise, of the current political consensus is dangerous. It's dangerous because if you don't pay heed to your history, things like it will happen again. But it is also dangerous because if you cover up genuinely awful things, if you ban genuinely awful things, it has the same effect from if you cover up non-awful things. It's the same effect from covering up anything. If you make it attractive. Madonna's videos in the 90s were banned. What was the one thing we all wanted to watch? Madonna's videos. Right. My book, has taken a rocky road to publication. What was the result? New York Times bestsellers. When you ban things, you make them irresistible. And that's why you should avoid it, because it is natural human nature to be attracted to the forbidden, to be attracted to things that are not allowed. That's why everything should be allowed. There should be an open, free marketplace of ideas, and the best from their side should argue with the best from our side and let the public make up their own minds. The only people who disagree with that are the people who are scared they might lose.
Yo, check that out. How's that for a closing lecture right there? Milo Yiannopoulos. Hey, by the way, win lunch.
Can we go back to Kim Kardashian?
Win lunch with Milo. You got a little promotion?
Is that right?
Oh, I do. I'm going to fly somebody out to have lunch with me.
Come on. To Florida?
Yes. It's on his Facebook page.
Well, wherever they want to go.
It's on his Facebook page. Check it out. Yeah,
you have to read my book, I think, in a dangerous place, like a Planned Parenthood clinic.
or in Kim Kardashian's house.
Or at BuzzFeed's offices. No, there's nothing dangerous about Kim Kardashian's house. Kim Kardashian's house is wonderful.
Milo Yiannopoulos, you're a great guest. We love you.
The best. Magnificent again today. Just great. Just great.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Get his book, Dangerous.
Wonderful.
Go to his Facebook page and harass the Twitter people. Get them back on Twitter.
Damn right.
Thank you.
On the Bernie and Sid Show, Curtis and Ebony are up next. Thanks. We appreciate it, Milo.
An exclusive honor bestowed upon the best BMW dealers in North